Hello and welcome back to the Simuldub Saints, your guide to seasonal anime dubs. I'm your host, LaserKid, and with me as always is my trusty co-host.
Hello, I am Archangel, lover of cat girls.
You've been listening to our theme song, Wherever I Go, from friend of the podcast, Ampren. Please check out their awesome music, link in the description.
We'd also like to thank our sponsor for this episode, the Kuzunoha Trading Company. More on them at the end.
Ooh. Man, we're getting all kinds of sponsorship deals. Straight from
I know.
anime to you. It's crazy. Before we get into today's topic, there's a slate of news, including the big news that everyone expected. The Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba Hashira training arc is coming, starting May 12th. Dub release is again TBA, but, they're probably 2 weeks out. The fact that they've already said that it's going to be dubbed, I mean, no one expected them not to dub it, but traditionally the Demon Slayer dub has come like halfway through the show. So the fact they're already talking about it, maybe we'll get it pretty quick. Would be nice. So that's the big news, and I don't think we're gonna have any more big news unless they shock surprises, because all of their announcements for the season seem to be done. But we do have Simuldubs that have started since the last time we talked to y'all.
Indeed. So first up is Spice and Wolf, Merchant Meets the Wise Wolf. And that's Monday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it is, in fact, a remake, and it's quite good.
Yep, we've watched the first episode. Solid run. Neither one of us have seen the original, but I have been told by another friend of the podcast, V-Lord, who is responsible for the Demon Slayer podcast, among many, many other awesome podcasts over on the Manga Mavericks Network. You should definitely check them out. This is more accurate to the books, apparently. Because the original, apparently, they moved story events around a little bit. So, hey, more accurate and new for new people. I'm happy with that.
Yep, the characters seem to have great chemistry. The voice acting is, as always these days, top notch. And I have to say, Holo is a classy lady.
Absolutely, Holo is a classy lady, and honestly, pretty fun. Talking about fun, or more specifically, funny, I was reincarnated as the seventh prince so I can take my time perfecting my magical ability. Is now on Mondays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and this one is absolutely fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it's just bonkers in the best possible way.
Absolutely. Very happy to be watching this one. Continuing that along, actually, Ark, this one should probably be you.
Okay, an Archdemon's Dilemma, How to Love Your Elf Bride, is out on Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern. And not only is it funny, it's actually at least, I think we have two episodes so far.
We've seen two of them, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be pretty touching, actually.
I would agree with that. It's less bonkers than the last one, but it's funny in the socially awkward sense. But
Right.
yeah, no, there's some depth to this where our main two characters have both been through quite a bit of trauma, and this leads to communication issues, and it's funny, but not in the laugh out loud funny. It's the funny in the heart touching way. It's got some heart to this one. I'm enjoying this one.
Yeah,
I didn't know if I would.
It says something that even in the story, people around them are giggling at how cute they are together.
Yeah, that's pretty great. To triple out our hilarity combination, we have the Vexations of Shonen Vampire Princess, Mondays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This one is just bonkers. Just almost as bonkers as Seventh Prince. Hikikomori Vampire is exactly what you expect it to be.
Yeah, it's honestly, I mean, at least the one episode we've seen so far, it didn't particularly land with me, but this is the kind of thing that's entirely a matter of taste, so don't take that as a condemnation at all. It's very silly. Do not go into this expecting an ounce of seriousness.
Indeed.
Unless I'm very much mistaken.
I'm enjoying it enough to keep watching it. I'm not loving it either, but it's fun. I enjoyed it enough. I mean, I watched it subtitled before and dropped it after this episode, so not exactly my thing, but our group seems to like it, so yeah.
Yep. And next up is the part where we have our first time we have to say we were completely and totally wrong about something.
Absolutely, we could not have been more wrong about this show. And of course, that's Windbreaker. Holy crap! Uh, Before we get into it, Thursdays at 5 Eastern Standard Time. But oh my god,
Yeah, and before we start talking about the show, I blame the trailer. The
I do
trailer
too.
is whoever put the trailer together needs a little performative bonk on the head because I don't think they watched the show.
No, I don't think so either. Because they make it seem like I'm a guy who gets into fights and I like to fight and I'm a fighter. I mean, and that's an aspect of it, but
Yeah,
it's
well
like
that
a tiny aspect of it.
well that's where the MC is actually coming from, but what they failed to because that's how he's defended himself both physically and emotionally heretofore in his life. But what they failed to bring in is the other half where now he's being offered the chance to make something of himself. And he looks like he's going to seize it with both hands, but I'm sure it won't be that easy.
Indeed, but it's a bunch of school punk fighters turned out to be defenders of the town, and well, he's gonna go join them, and I'm actually on board now. This one
Oh,
was
yeah,
really fun.
indeed. And next up, A Condition Called Love is debuting. What's the first episode's out? The episodes are coming out on Thursdays at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Neither of us have any particular interest. I haven't watched it. I don't think LK has either.
Nope,
But the dub has begun, so if this is your cup of tea, go for it. This is the one, if I recall correctly, with the
the simp.
yeah, with the simp and the emotionally stunted young lady, which is,
Yes,
you know,
that's the one.
it's probably an unkind way to put it, but I'm not sure what the correct way would be. So,
Eh. Well, also starting up is the third season of Laid Back Camp, Wednesdays at 5. Haven't watched it yet, do needing to watch seasons 1 and 2, but it's here.
yep.
And that, actually, you should probably do this one.
What? Oh, Saint Seiya, Knights of the Zodiac, Battle for Sanctuary Part Two.
Yep, Mondays at 4 Eastern. Not watching that, but what's interesting, that one is day and date with the Japanese release, which, hey,
Really?
good for it.
Cool. Yeah, and that's the one that I said the animation it looks exactly like the
Final
cutscenes
Fantasy
from Final
9.
Fantasy 9.
Yes,
Yeah,
that is that one, yes.
and also just put me to sleep. So,
And literally today, we had two new releases as we record this on Sunday. You now know our recording day. Dun dun dun. Mushokue Tensei Season 2 Core 2. Sundays at 3:15 Eastern Standard Time. Um, I can't say much because I don't want to spoil as someone who's read all of the books. But oh my gosh, it's about to get really adorable.
mhm. Yep.
And that first episode, I think, goes into that.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, again, I can't really say much except this is if you haven't watched this show, you should from the beginning.
Oh, absolutely. And we'll be getting into that. Although our topic today will be focusing on season 2 of the shows we're talking about. But if you haven't watched either one, yeah, you probably want to start on season 1.
Yep. And also releasing today was Vampire Dormitory, which is about what we expected. It looks like it might have more heart. I thought it was going to be pure comedy. It looks like it's actually going to be a lot more emotional and heartfelt than I was expecting.
Likewise. And that's Sundays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, no, I don't know that it's my thing, but I would totally run with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's heartfelt. It's definitely a going all in on the romance angle. I do like
Yeah.
the yeah, I can't have women, but you're a cute guy. Yeah, but I'm a woman though. That's an interesting
Yeah.
little setup.
Yeah. I'm curious if that I can't have women. I want to know more about that.
I was
Um,
actually thinking on that front earlier in that actual episode. He's talking about how he hasn't drunk blood in a long time. I think there's some sort of vow the guy has taken.
I don't know. We don't have enough information
No,
about
no, we
how
don't.
this works. Yeah, it does seem to share also a certain theme with Windbreaker, actually, in that someone who thought they were completely worthless and pointless all of a sudden find some place that they seem like they might belong. So,
Agreed. Well, that's all the ones that have come out since we last spoke with y'all. Still to come, Chill in Another World with level 2 super cheat powers. I'm probably skipping that one. Konosuba 3, which you have to. The only way I don't watch that is if threats of violence come against me to prevent me from watching it. You can't stop me! I'm watching Konosuba 3!
I'm resigned to it. Yes.
Black Butler, public school arc, also known as season 4. Not there yet, but we actually did start the beginning of Black Butler not too long ago, and it's
Hmm.
pretty fun.
It's
Definitely gonna get there eventually.
hilarious.
Oh yes. Um, Duke of Death and His Maid has not started yet. Day of Life 5, Viral Hit, and of course Chibi Maruko-chan, but I'm not sure. They're still having the listing on their simulcast announcements that it has a TBA dub. But I'm wondering because what I didn't know when I first talked about this, I'm like, how did I miss this? Well, I missed it because it wasn't a new release. This is like in the thousands. This is like the Simpsons of anime. Apparently, it's been going on and on and on. I don't know what they're dubbing, if they're dubbing, how they're dubbing. Definitely look forward to seeing that when it comes out, if it does dubbed. The trailer's in English, so maybe, but no
Shall see.
word on any of that yet. But that's going to be hitting us eventually, and that covers
Okay.
all of our preamble. So today we're gonna hit you with a duet, an isekai duet, an isekai school arc duet, because both the isekais that we're talking about today have our season 2 surrounding a school storyline, because of course they do, and that's what we're doing. So arc, I think this first one's more you than me, and the other one's probably the other way around. So I'm gonna let you take the
Indeed.
lead on Tsukimichi season 2. Now, in both of these shows cases for the current season, there's only one episode, but we have an entire previous season's worth of episodes that we're going to be able to talk about to lead you into it.
Yep, and we should also probably at this point give the spoiler disclaimer that we are going to be talking in a fair bit of specifics. So if you don't want spoilers, just turn this off, go watch the existing stuff, then come back. Okay?
Absolutely, especially if you haven't even seen season 1, because I don't really think we are going to go into that too much for either one.
Yeah, I
Maybe
mean,
a
not in
brief,
detail,
yeah,
but
in
just kind of
brief,
to
but
establish where people are. But all right, so let's start with our main character, Makoto Misumi, who is isekai along with two other people from Japan, two other kids. I'm not sure if his grabbing was deliberate like the other two, but regardless, the goddess, who apparently is the only deity active in this world, is basically a bitch. Very, very
yeah.
vain and like extremely shallow and superficial.
I'm not
And
sure if I
she's
hate her more or the god in Band from Heroes Tamer, Heroes Tamer, Heroes Party more, but
well, we haven't talked to him directly, so
no, we've just seen his actions.
yeah, which speaks a
Mm,
lot. Honestly, I would hate this goddess more just because she's even more pointless, if that makes sense.
it does.
The superficialness.
Oh, you're ugly. I'm going to cast you over to
Yeah,
over
it's
there to keep your genetic filth away from my humans. Yeah, I'm like,
yeah,
he's
which he's actually a
what?
pretty decently good looking
Yeah,
guy.
like I don't. This is the thing anime will do. Is like, oh, you're ugly. Oh, you're flat chested. Yeah, the flat chested girl anime still got giant gazongas. So I don't know.
Yeah, that depends. I mean, sometimes they are, but again, who cares?
No, I'm just.
You know?
It's a weird thing anime does. So I'm just commenting.
Yeah, it's yeah,
Mean
they're
Amber, sure flat. She's not. But
no, you know. So talking in any sort of absolute terms is just it's inelegant. Let's leave it at that.
Okay. All right, Spy Family.
Inelegant. You are disqualified. Anyway, so this guy he's basically thrown out to die, but he's because he got isekai. Apparently, he's got some superpowers,
Well,
and
that's not because he got isekai. It's because of the god from Japan that got him there
oh right,
felt bad for the situation he was in and drained his own power to give him a chance at surviving.
Yeah, so he's decently OP, although I don't think he really appreciates that,
No, he
which is
doesn't.
just as well. This is the most grounded motherfucker I've ever seen. It's partially obliviousness and partly that just he doesn't seem to care about the usual megalomania things. I've heard it. I don't think this is a new thing, but I've heard it's new to me. A thought that power doesn't corrupt; it reveals,
I've heard
which
that
seems
description. Yes and no.
well, in this case, yeah. So this guy basically starts. He makes friends. Is that the right word? Or
I mean,
tames two natural disasters, depending on how you want to put it.
he
Um,
gets followers very quickly, very
yeah.
powerful followers who become very enamored with him due to A, his power, and B, his knowledge of another world.
Yep.
Also, he helps them both out, and they
Yep.
feel indebted to him, and that would be, of course, Tomoe the Dragon and Mio the Spire Lady.
Yep. So Tomoe is a dragon with a capital D. She's one of the how many
Oh,
dragons in
she's
this
got a
world,
pair
but
of
there's
double
not all that many of
D's.
them.
Oh.
Inelegant.
Hmm.
Go to detention.
I'll go to
Anyway,
horny jail. All right.
and besides,
I'm
she
not
can
that
look like
horny for her. I
she
was
can
trying to
look
make a
like
pun.
whatever she wants. Anyway.
I was trying to make a dumb joke. That's all.
Anyway.
I don't want to
Um.
drag this on.
Yeah. So. Fuck you. Oh god. All right. God's sake.
I couldn't
Okay,
help myself.
Rick. Yeah.
Hey, Carl, I don't want to drag this on, but
Yeah. Oh god. All right. So anyway, Tomoe is she has a tendency to overdo things, but she's actually reasonably intelligent and put together. And I think she's mostly in it for in this because she actually likes Makoto on a number of levels, and B just pure amusement of to see what he'll do next. I think is her motivation.
I think that's accurate.
Whereas Mio is, God bless her, she is the spider of calamity. They picture like a giant black spider that just was eternally hungry, and Makoto kind of kicked her ass. And next thing he knows, he's got an anthropomorphic, classic Japanese beauty, fully human, who's about as dumb as a bag of hammers and extremely overpowered and extremely enthusiastic. God, you have to see it. Mio is one of these characters who's just gets her default state is carried away. And which one? I think it's Tomoe who gets addicted to because Makoto can. I think it's just from memory, right? That he
He,
remembers all this stuff from
yes,
Earth,
he
right?
creates. He has a memory fault. Yes,
Right. So Tomoe gets into samurai dramas, if I recall, and Mio
that's
likes
correct.
soap operas.
Yep, and
So
Mio also likes eating the memories, which causes a number of squabbles.
and there's also Mio also has the trope of the pretty girl who can't cook to save her life and tends to kill people when she tries, so like Yor from Spy Family, since we've brought that up a couple times. She is getting better.
Also reminds me of a certain character in Reincarnated as a Slime.
Right, it's definitely a trope. I don't know what the trope name is, but the pretty girl who's cooking is lethal is definitely a trope.
Yeah, moving
Even
all the
down
way
to the
back to
purple,
Gurren
even
Lagann.
down to the purple. Yeah, well, the purple miasma coming off the food is the visual shorthand for it.
Indeed.
So there's that, and so he actually creates his own demi plane. Like think like a pocket plane out of
Well,
Dungeons and
more
Dragons.
Tomoe does, but he helps.
Yeah. And starts because I mean humans are not the only sapient creatures in the world. I mean, we've already seen two of them who are fairly unique, but there's a lot of different demi-human races, and they tend to get the shit end of the stick because the humans have a goddess backing them up, and they don't. And so Makoto's been basically taking at least some of them in as groups, and they are all becoming rather devoted to him because he's being a very good governor, essentially. I think he's on his way to apotheosis at some point, but we'll see. That's just my suspicion. It hasn't really been telegraphed in any way. So let's see. Other notables. Oh God. Um,
Lime.
yeah. Lime latte. So this is sort of a servant of the servant, specifically of Tomoe the dragon. I forget what his deal is. It's been a minute.
He started
But
off as a enemy, turned into a friend. He got hired to help them, be the eyes on the right ground for them, basically.
right.
But
So next up.
eventually, in this season, things get really interesting with him, with He basically has to become Tomoe's servant because otherwise he gets brainwashed.
Yeah. So he seems like a pretty decent guy, all things considered.
Mm-hmm.
So next up is Otonashi Hibiki, who is the second of the kids who got isekai'd, young lady, Japanese. She apparently met the goddess's standard of beauty and was made the hero of one of the two major nations. But she does not have nearly as much power in the combat sense as the third guy, who we'll talk about in a minute. And she's really trying, but it's not going that great,
I mean,
and
we
she's
see her
lost at
straight up
least one friend.
lose one
Yeah,
close friend in Navarre, who that really, really messes with her.
yeah, so she's gonna need some help at some point, but she's still fundamentally a good person.
Well, she and Mio get to meet up in this season, and she teaches Mio how to cook Japanese.
Mhm.
And Mio
Or at
likewise
least
helps
how
train
not to
her.
kill people.
Yes, and Mio likewise helps her train, and also I think helps her build some confidence, which was much needed after the loss.
Indeed. It's the kind of thing, what do you do when you're overpowered, but you're surrounded by people who are even more overpowered?
Mm-hmm.
Hashtag just 40K problems. Alright, and then two people you have listed as frenemies,
I,
namely
I,
Rona and Root.
I mean, how else do I describe? Like Rona is this demon. I wouldn't say demon lord, but like high ranking demon lady who is why Navarre dies actually because they're trying to stop Rona. And that doesn't go so well because the other Isekai, Iwahashi, bravely runs away mid fight because I'm not
Oh god.
immortal anymore. Oh no!
Oh god. Well, let's talk about Root before we get into that
Yes,
piece of
I know.
shit.
I'm just building there. Um, she also gets involved with Kuzunoha when he's investigating some things going on at the academy. She's friendly-ish. That's why I have her under frenemies because she's helpful, but she's also not.
She's got her own agenda.
Yes, that's why she's a frenemy. And then there's Root, the head of the guild.
Who is another dragon, very like Tomoe, and is basically just bored and mischievous and kind of annoying.
Um, doing some very creepy shit. Also wants to specifically make humanity weaker, which is why he does the things that he does, which is he's creepy. But he's also
Yeah,
occasionally helpful? Question mark.
I don't know.
I don't know what to think about him or Rona, but that's why they got thrown in there. And then there's your favorite shithead.
Oh god. So this is the third one who you know, the goddess to the two she favored gave all sorts of powers. I don't know if she just, I don't know what her deal was, but she could not have picked a worse power for this guy's mental health. To be fair, to be clear, I don't think there was all that much character going on here in the first place.
Well,
But one of the major,
they make a big deal of pointing out that he was heavily bullied and mentally screwed up to start with because of the bullying he received. He was very timid and weak-willed.
well, I was bullied to hell when I was a kid too. But anyway,
I'm just yeah, but this is important to build on who he is.
right. In any case, he was given a essentially a mind control power that works whether he wants it to or not.
That
So
does not
he's
appear to be the case, actually.
really,
He seems to deliberately active.
I
His
think
eye
he's
shines when
trying now. But if I recall correctly, the first one or two, I don't think he did it on purpose.
first couple, I don't think he knew what he was doing, but it wasn't. It's not like it just happened all the time. It was more he activated, but he didn't realize he was activating it. If that makes
Right.
sense.
So he's basically got a harem going, and he thinks he's basically got spoiled brat syndrome going.
Well, there's two other major important things to note about him.
Hmm.
This is not his original body. He asked her to make him pretty, so she did.
Fair enough.
Which makes me wonder why she didn't do that for Kuzunoa if she thought he was so ugly. Bitch. And then secondly, he asked for immortality, and so as long as the moon shines, he cannot be killed.
Okay. Well, can always take the Piccolo approach to solving that problem.
It's
Um,
it's you're being way too literal. If it's nighttime, he's immortal.
I know I'm being an asshole. So anyway, he's basically a completely malicious force in the world to pretty much everyone he comes in contact with.
Although,
Partly
slightly to be
by
fair,
partly
he's also
intentionally, partly
being
not.
very much used by the lady that he's the.
Yeah, at a certain point, their humanocentrist
Oh, it's
crusade is going to run
Lily
up against him.
Front Gratonia. She definitely tried to seduce him because she's desperate.
Yeah,
Not for
well,
that, but desperate for her country.
right. So yeah, mission accomplished there. I mean, it wasn't all that hard, but
No, not really.
and she was the first. I think she was the first one to bond on to him. So she's kind of got the tiger by the tail, as it were.
Indeed.
But yeah, at some point, his whole crusade thing is going to run up hard against our main character and his friends, and then I
I mean,
imagine there's going to be some problems.
he has already come across them because he tried to take Tomoe and Lime,
Yeah.
and had Lime until someone was like, "Yeah, you're my you're not human anymore. You're part dragon now because I can do that, and now you're immune to that shit." Which,
Yeah, and so
wow,
he liked the look of Tomoe, which, fair play. She's very pretty. And he's like, "Why don't you come with me?" And she told him to fuck off. And he didn't know how to react to that except by reeing all over the place like
well,
a little bitch. So,
if the shoe fits.
yeah, well, like I said, spoiled brat.
That's kind of what's going on that side of things. But to Rothsgard Academy, we have a whole other storyline going on. In fact, two of them.
Oh, yeah. So, one of the things that Kuzuno has done, or Makoto, I should say, has done as part of the getting the demiplane up and running is these established a mercantile company uh, with help from an established human merchant who he helped out.
Good old
And so,
Rembrandt.
yep. And so basically, in this city, they're setting up a branch, but basically, as almost an excuse for him to be there. Aside from that, he is also applied to be a teacher at this giant academy where usually teachers want the as many students as they can get because they're kind of paid by the per student per course per term. But he's like, I just want to teach people who are worth my time because remember he's super duper incredibly overpowered.
Hmm.
um so he and we actually left off, oh god, what's his name, the his attendant.
Oh yeah, we
What
did.
is his name? I'm terrible with names, folks.
The former lich.
Right. So anyway, so he's like, I'm going to offer just, it's for very high level, so forth. And so he gets some kids who think either he's full of it and this will be an easy A,
The
starting
undead
from
guy's
where.
name is Shiki.
Okay. So, Makoto and Shiki, the former leech, it's working as his attendant. They put up this course. And so they get a number of
He's a
students who
former
either
leech. Does that mean he was a slimy creature?
lich, whatever.
It's important. Pronunciation's important. He made it sound like he's something else.
Okay, so they get a group of, I want to say, half a dozen or eight students, including the two daughters of the aforementioned merchant, and these are all pretty capable students by normal human standards. But from Kuzunoha's point of view, they're just kind of pathetic. So he starts putting them through the ringer, and to their credit, most of them stick with it as much as they can, and they're learning quite a lot. But it's the kind of thing where every time they meet one challenge, he just casually puts on a bigger challenge, and it's funny.
Yeah, no, it's interesting seeing them grow, and they do grow. They get better. We also get some of their connections into the other things, such as our dragon friend that fought Kuzunoha at the end of the last season, Sophia Bolga, who is a dragon, but apparently she didn't always know that, and she used to go by Miranda, and is one of our students' former friends before things got interesting.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on.
There's a heck of a lot of little threads here and there.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much it in terms of what's going on. So like I said, you really want to
Well, there's
watch the whole
one
thing
other
for.
major
Oh,
plot
oh,
thread. and that is the experimentation and kidnapping and experimentation on demi-humans going on, which is being investigated still, which led us into one character who recognized Kuzunoha's parents, and they're from
Oh,
a
right.
kingdom that fell.
Interesting. Yes.
And
Actually,
that's
I'd legitimately forgotten about that.
yeah, well, there you go. That's those. Now that's the, as far as I know, the end of the major plot threads. But there's a lot going on. There's an awful lot going on, and that's one of the things that Tsukimichi does really well. Is it not only does a lot go on, but it all ties into each other, which is beautiful.
All right. So, again, go watch it. It's a great time.
Absolutely. And that leads us
And
into
yeah.
the second item of our Isekai school arc duet, Mushokue Tensei, Season 2, the Renoa Magic Academy arc. Yeah, we've gone from Rosegard to Renoa. Go figure. Mushokue Tensei, Season 1 is pretty... In very quick overview, our main character, Rudius Greyrat, is a Isekai. He got hit by Truck-kun. Was a NEET, got bullied badly, I might add. Like, holy shit. Made him a serious shut-in, not the best person. He's doing everything he can in his new life to be a better person, although he's still a pervert. He goes through quite a bit of adventure when the displacement incident occurs, sending him and his cousin Eris Boros Greyrat to the Demon Continent, and season 1's all about them getting home.
Yep. And this just displays just about everyone on that whole continent, right?
Whole world.
It was the whole world. Okay.
Absolutely. Major incident. All along the journey, though, our character Rudius has gone through quite a bit of growing up, both physically and emotionally. Starts off as a pervert. That never really goes away exactly, but he becomes more mature, I want to say. I mean, we
Yeah.
don't exactly have him bowling a Cosmo swinging around panties even at the beginning, so there's at least something of a starting place. But even when he does weird, creepy shit, I'm aware of a lot of people who didn't really get into this because he's a creepy perv in the beginning, which he is.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a character who grows and becomes a better person. That's one of the things I really like about it. But at the end, of season 1, he finally scored, as it were. But then Eris leaves him. There's a major misunderstanding between her and him. She leaves him a note, very unhelpfully saying that they're incompatible. And we know from the OVA episodes about her, she does this because she feels she's not strong enough to keep up with him. She wants to become stronger to match him. That's not how anyone would take that note without her context of what's running in her head, though. He takes it as he's the problem, and ow.
Yeah. And so that's totally her fault.
It
And to
absolutely
be honest, they
is.
weren't suited for each other in any case. So she was right without knowing it, I think.
I will not comment on that. But at any rate,
But yeah, it majorly fucks him in the head more than you'd think.
yes. Oh, I mean,
Because
understandably
just
so.
yeah, but before I forget, just one point about Rudius. I don't think in his life on Earth, I don't think he ever had a chance to grow beyond being a boy
No.
at
He
all.
was an adult,
So
but he was an adult child.
right. Um for aforementioned reasons. So I would say that here in his second life, he's finally becoming a man.
Oh, that is the story of Mushokue Tensei. Straight
Mhm.
up. Is Rudy's becoming from a child into a man and his life going through that transition, and yeah, no, that's what makes the story really special. But he's left with mental scars from that to the point where we have a little mini arc at the beginning of season 2, which I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on, where we find out, oh, Rudius has ET.
Purely psychological.
Absolutely psychological, but that's a thing. That's a real thing, you know.
Oh goodness, yes.
And I remember when I was reading this story arc, when it came to its conclusion arc, I messaged you saying, Mushokue Tensei is the greatest piece of fiction I've ever read. There's been a story arc about a man going through ED and curing it, and now I am crying because of how good this conclusion to the storyline is. And you're like, But I think now you know why.
Right, but to say that to somebody out of
I did
context
it on
still is,
purpose. I did it on
yeah.
purpose. I knew you weren't going to get it. And that's what made it fun. I did it for the giggles, honestly. But
Yeah.
god damn, I meant it though. Yeah, that's half of the story here of the Academy arc is Rudius wants to investigate uh ways of curing his ET. He's also looking into the displacement incident because, family. His mom is still out there somewhere. We haven't been able to find her yet. And as far as he knows, he also doesn't know where Sophiette is. I mean,
Hmm.
she's right in front of him as Alan fits, but he doesn't know that.
Yep. And confirmation bias. You think you know what's going on, so you don't see what's right in front of you.
Mhm. But he didn't go alone. He came with the Linley's Dragon Road, our horny on the main elf woman, who's, as it's revealed, not horny on the main because she necessarily wants to be. It's a curse. She has to do the deed or it's going to kill her.
True, but I don't. She doesn't seem too broken up. I will say that.
Well, no, I don't think she is either. But it's. I'm not saying
But
she doesn't enjoy what she does, but I also don't think that she would be as she is without it.
probably not to the same extent. Certainly, think she'd be a lot pickier.
Yes, well, we'll get into that here in a minute. We also have the reintroduction of Zanoba Shiron, who is a blessed child with crazy, ridiculous strength and no control. But he's also a absolute obsessee over figurines and has bonded with Rudius over that. He is one of the special students at the academy. Special students are not required to go to classes regularly, are able to run their own research. They just have to meet every now and then in a special classroom, but it's very infrequent. And they don't have to go to every single one of those.
Mostly, just we want to make sure you're still alive and that you haven't burned anything down.
More or less. Other special students include Nanahoshi, or Silent Seven Star, who is a fellow Isekai who did not get reborn. She got brought over in her body, and all she wants to do is go home. We have quite a bit of interesting conversation between her and Rudius at the end of last season in Japanese, which Sophie did not understand and was very confused.
Hmm.
More special students would be Linnea and Persuena, the idiot cat girl and cat dog, or cat girl, cat dog, cat girl and dog girl from Devoldia Village. They are also special students. And of course, the last big one would be Cliff Grimoire, who is from a religious family. We know from the OVA episode he's rather prominent because back in Millis, there is a bit of a civil war going on over the power, and he was captured and to be killed. He was saved by Eris, who went on and on and on about how great Rudius is.
Hmm.
And so when Cliff first meets Rudius, he kind of gives him the cold shoulder. It's like, oh, it's Rudius, great. And I don't see what's so big of a deal about him. But then his attitude changes like 180s when he falls in love with Alina Lees and realizes that Rudius is her friend, and he begs help getting connected, which Rudius helps him with, and it turns out to be a mutual relationship. Cliff's looking into ways to cure that curse, and he's understanding of it and working with her, and honestly, one of the greatest romances in Mushokue Tensei, those two.
All right.
Another character, of course, would be Julie. Zenoba loves making figurines, but he can't. His strength is so much that he doesn't have the dexterity and fine control to do carving. And Isekai does the modern Isekai trope of getting a slave. I,
Yeah.
I
Well, the other thing to note is Rudius actually makes the figurines primarily through magic, but Sonoba can't do that either because all of his talents are physical.
yes, he is
So,
a blessed child, but he is not a magical child. He is a I punch things and I take damage, no damage from basically anything.
yeah.
But that does lead us to the unfortunate slave storyline in Mushokue Tensei, where they buy a slave girl, dwarf girl named Julie, who they name Julie. She doesn't
Mhm.
have a name because apparently dwarves don't give names until they're adults. And her parents were sold into slavery. She was sold into slavery, and she was never given a name. This is very uncomfortable. I don't know why isekai and anime like to romanticize slavery so much. I mean, it makes sense that it's here. I don't have a problem with
I
it being
don't think
here.
it was romanticized. They just didn't dwell on the horror of it.
Uh,
But they didn't
by
really
definition,
hide
that's
it.
romanticizing it, Art.
Yeah, well, slavery has been pretty much a standard thing in one form or another throughout human history. I mean, it's not always
Yes,
called that,
I
but
understand that, but this is a fictional story where we don't need to put it there and just treat it like it doesn't matter, you know? At the
well,
very least, it would have been nice to see Rudius recoil in horror of going, oh god, there's slavery. But it's like, oh, let's go buy a
he
slave.
kind of did.
Not really. The main mitigation here, though, they don't treat Julie like a slave. Not even like treating her well as a slave. She kind of gets doted on like a family member, which
Hmm.
that is nice. I chalk this up to Zenoba not really understanding how anything works because this guy is socially
Hmm.
awkward as hell. And I will say, as a book reader, yeah, no, this persists. She is basically like a Zenoba's adopted daughter, more so than a slave.
That
Um,
works.
there are
Yeah,
things that'll come into play with that later on.
yeah. And I think, as somebody from the modern Western world, I think even if he's not gonna pitch a fit over the existence of the institution, um, I think Rudius would rather treat her like a just another
Oh
person.
yeah, no, of course Rudius does, but it's not just Rudius, Zenoba as
Right.
well, which is more
Yeah.
important because technically he's the
Yeah.
owner.
Well, there's that. Yeah, and also he values her talent, and
Of
he's
course,
not.
yeah, he's
He
not an
doesn't
idiot.
seem to care about people's status in general.
No, no, he really doesn't. But yeah, Japan, I don't have a problem if you want to do slave storytelling where slaves exist. They exist. That's a thing. Treat it with the respect it deserves. That's all I'm saying. If you're going to use that, use it well. Any rate, this of course leads us to the fun plot of Sylphia wants Rudius to recognize her. She's going by Silent Fitz, who is a bodyguard of Ariel Animosi Ashura. She is an Austrian princess in exile, being served by Rudius's actual first cousin, Luke Notos Greyrat. Rudius's father, Paul, is the brother of Luke's father, Pilemon. And as you might recall, Paul left that family in disgust. We'll just leave it at that. But they are first cousins. They're more closely related than, say, Eris was through Rudius. The Boreas is several. They're both gray rats, but they're like families apart, like fourth or fifth cousins at that point.
So I'm pretty sure he's the first cousin once removed because their parents were siblings or something.
Luke and Rudius are first cousins, straight up.
Okay. Yeah.
Their fathers were brothers.
Okay. Yeah.
It's as simple as it gets. I was just saying, unlike Eris, where it's a lot more complicated.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Who knows?
It is it I can just say for a fact there's definitely more than a couple of numbers between Rudius and Eris. Anyway, covers most of the main characters except for, of course, Badagati, who comes into town because he heard from his fiancee Kishurika Rika, the crazy demon princess who gave Rudius his demon eye. Heard about Rudius's ridiculous magic powers, like, hey, I want to fight you. But Rudius is currently fighting off a bunch of suitors for Linny and Persuena because they're like, yeah, you can't go after us with them unless you go through the boss. I'm like, great, thanks, ladies.
Yeah.
Bodyguard beats them all up so you can go fight Rudius. It's a tough fight for Rudius, but he wins. Bodyguard is also absolutely hilarious. One of my favorite characters in this story. But that's one part of the story. I mentioned the boss. It's because Lady and Persuena were bullying Zenoba, which Rudius didn't care too much. I mean, he did not care, but he wasn't going to get involved until he found out they broke the Roxy statue. And this means war. You have disrespected my goddess. Dies Volts.
Yeah.
They get beat thoroughly, and now they're his servants or minions or
Yeah.
however you want to put it.
I think
And
they would put it as they acknowledged him as the alpha.
yeah, I think that's a way of putting it. And so all of these things go on, but there's the other major main plot, which of course is a Sylphiette plot. Oh my god, I love this story so much. This is some absolute masterclass writing where Sylphiette, frustrating for us viewers, but it's very human. She doesn't want to ask Rudius, hey, do you remember me? I'm Sylphiette, because she is afraid he won't. And she can't handle the heartbreak of that being the case. If that would be the case. She is hoping to try to make him recognize her on his own. And it's not working. And it's not working. And she's being very subtle, and it's really not working. And eventually, her friends, Luke and Prince Sariel, are like, all right, look, you gotta do this. You're waffling. You're being weak-willed about this. Ariel basically says, this is your last shot. If you don't do it now, you're done. Now, I don't think she's doing this to be mean. I think it was meant to be encouraging. Because Ariel seems to be very loyal to Sylphiette.
Right. Well, she's very grateful. She saved her life.
Absolutely. So Sylphiette devised a scheme to put Rudius in a position with her where they have to dry clothes, they have to do a little bit of bathing, sort of like what happened when they first met. It's adorkable and it works. Rudius is like, Fitz? The whole storyline, Rudius is like, why am I attracted to a man? Why am I attracted to a man? What is going on? Why am I slightly attracted to a man? This is really weird. Goes, are you Sylphiette? And she confirms, yes. Yes, I am. And that is how the last core ended, with them hugging. And oh my god, I love it. It's just so beautiful. Very romantic, really.
Oh yeah. Yeah, whatever description we give, we cannot do it justice. You gotta go watch it.
We really can't. I'm breaking up into tears a little bit just because it's that heartfelt. But I mean, we can't possibly do this justice. Although I assume if you're listening to this, you've already seen it. And then that leads us to today's episode, because the Simuldubs picked back up. Rudius gotta go get married. He's like, how do I get married? And Cliff's like, well, you gotta get a house first. And thus the house hunting begins, and we find a haunted house.
Because he's thinking, I need a place of a decent size because, we'll be entertaining royalty at least once in a while. And I think he's also thinking that he wants to have a bunch of kids.
I would say that's a reasonable guess.
And so he's like, okay, I'm not, I've got some money, but I'm not loaded. What can I do? And he finds there's this place right near town that's haunted and has killed one adventurer party who went to investigate it. So basically everyone's been ignoring it. And to someone like Rudius, you know what that means? Discount.
Discount time. It's time to go to Discount Dan's houses.
Yeah. Oh god, this is totally a Discount Dan special.
Shout out to the Black Pants Legion, although I don't know if there's any crossover in viewership here, but
they know what anime is. Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
I don't know if our audience will know. I don't know if their audience will listen to us, and I don't know if our audience will listen to them, is what I mean.
Google Text Talks Battletech. You're welcome.
Yes. But at any rate, turns out it's less haunted. Much frustration to Cliff, who's like, by holy power be gone! Oh, it didn't work.
Yeah, which is
completely
Cliff acted
understandable.
Perfectly sensibly there.
Absolutely.
I was very impressed with him, actually.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'm of no use. I'm gonna go over here.
Yep, which is exactly the right thing. We don't want to have to worry about your safety.
I mean, Rudius straight up told him that too. He's like, no, you did the right thing.
So it turns out it wasn't a ghost in the literal sense.
It was a freaking robot.
Golem.
It was a freaking robot. Even Rudius calls it a robot. It's a robot.
Yeah. I'd say because it's animated with magic, that makes it more of a golem, but
I know thanks. It's a robot.
Okay.
Yes, magic is involved, but it's a robot.
Yeah.
But it's a very interesting thing, and of course, Zenobia takes great interest.
Naturally.
And he decides he's going to take on this research all on his own. So he takes the robot, goes and he's going to go look at it, figure it out.
Because the other thing is the robot is, claw you to death type of thing. And so for Zenobia, he literally just takes it by the head and lets it wind and lets it run itself down.
Yes, I love that.
And they're like,
Oh,
"What if it?" And they're like, "What if it goes crazy again?" He just basically goes, "Meh."
that's Sonoba for you. I mean,
But
it
you
goes
know,
attacks his chest, and he's just like, I'm a boss child. You can't hurt me.
yeah, it's a waste of a perfectly good shirt. But
Oh gosh. Zenoba, this trio in particular, Zenoba, Cliff, and Rudius, you're going to be seeing a lot of them going forward
yeah,
as a book reader here, and they're great together. They are
yeah,
the perfect trio.
hmm yeah, very much me and the boys.
Absolutely. And at the end of this episode, Rudius takes Sophiette to go see the newly fixed up house. Skipped over a lot of the book going into detail about how and why it got fixed up the way it did, which is fine because anime. But I did love that they kept the detail. He had the roof painted green to match Sophiette's original hair color because he's like, I know you didn't like that, but I always thought it was beautiful. I'm like, oh, you stud, you.
hmm
But yeah, we're going into the marriage, and I'm gonna get teared up next week. I swear.
All right.
I'm not crying. You're crying. But yeah, that's Mushokue Tensei, and that's both of our major topics.
Okay, so before we close, we would like to once again thank the aforementioned Kuzunoha Trading Company, who have graciously sponsored this episode of the Simuldub Saints. From weapons to homewares, from produce to pharmaceuticals, the Kuzunoha Trading Company is your one stop shop for all of your household and adventuring needs. For incredibly high quality at incredibly low prices, shop Kuzunoha. Kuzunoha Trading Company, straight from the demiplane to you.
All right, thank you, Kuzunoha Trading Company. We appreciate the $0 we received from you.
Indeed.
But that about does it for the Simuldub Saints this week. Archangel, I already know the answer, but where can the people find you?
Through you if they really must, because I do not do social media.
We need to set you up some way of just being contacted.
No,
No. You're
no,
gonna
because
use me
then
as your bodyguard. You're not
well,
on the list.
it's not about that. It's that I know myself, and if we set something up, I will never remember to check it. And if anyone actually tries to reach out to me, they'll feel bad, and I don't want that.
Fair
So,
enough. As for myself, you can find me on Twitter at LaserKidPrime. You allegedly can find me on Blue Sky at LaserKid. I'm there, but I very rarely check my Blue Sky. But it's there if you're so inclined. You can find me on the Toonami Faithful podcast quite frequently with my friends over there. You heard of me with Kuro last time. She's on there frequently. In fact, this upcoming podcast, it's going to be me, her, and a returning sketch to talk about the finale of Licorice Recoil. So for you Toonami viewers out there, definitely check out Toonami Faithful. I also allegedly write editorials over there. I have one in the cooker, but it's not quite ready yet. But that's a lot of places you can find me. And as for the Simuldub Saints, typically I'm just posting on my own Twitter, but there is a Simuldub Saints Twitter account that is there. I can't say it's going to do much, but it's there. We also have a Simuldub Saints Facebook group. Yes, it exists. So feel free to hit us up any of those places. Absolutely love your feedback. If you guys have anything to say or anything you'd like us to do, we are definitely adjusting as we go. This is definitely our growing pains period, and we figure out how this works for us and how it works for y'all. I do want to say I really appreciate the viewership out there. We have had far more views than I would expect us to have for such a fledgling podcast. Thank you all so much for checking us out, and we will see you all next time.
bye bye.